Hi everyone, welcome to Tuesday, and we take a look at the performance of the NZSX 50, just our main board, to see how it's performed for the last week. Now just remember that this is for educational purposes only, definitely not intended to be personalised financial advice. For that, you do need to go and have a chat to your own financial advisor. Right, let's take a look. So as you can see here, I have got the NZSX 50 gross index up on the screen. Now I am recording this Monday morning, and the market has been open for about 3/4 of an hour, and it looks like we're having a little bit of a positive week so far. It's certainly looking that way, which is great. It's up about 0.9% or $11.85. Now last week you can see here that we did have a sell-off, and the interesting thing when I zoom in, when you look at this candle, this second to last one here, it looks like there was a lot of buying pressure, because not only did the market open where the solid line is, it closed below. There were people trying to buy, and that's what indicates that wick. However, the buyers, if you like, the sellers, were the ones in control, and they drove the market down for the week. Not a lot of volume though when I sort of look at it. In fact, the volume, there was just over 98 million worth of volume. So that's not too bad, because when the market sells and there's not a lot of volume, that can be a positive. Now, if I could spring forward to last week, you can see here there's a little bit of a tail wick, but there's more upward wicks as well. Now, that does mean that whilst the bears were in control last week, there was certainly a lot more buying pressure. For this candle to indicate that it is a good bearish candle, you'd need that tail down the bottom to be longer. In fact, longer than the wick at the top, and that usually does indicate buying pressure. And in fact, if I scan back on the chart and put my cursor here on the 28th of April that week, you can see here that the wick down the bottom was quite significant. And then obviously the next 2 weeks we had upward wicks, which was great. And that's the sort of thing that does indicate potential buying pressure in a market. Obviously the volume was up a little bit more last week as well versus the week before. So we had about $113 million worth of shares traded. And what I want to see is, I want to see this volume spiking higher on a positive week than what it does when the market sells off for the week, because markets can't just keep going up forever. Conversely, they can't keep going down forever, but they can certainly go down longer than what you can sort of remain rational about. In fact, there's a saying that says markets can be irrational for longer than you can remain solvent. And that's why I actually always talk about using stop losses as well. Right, let's put our moving averages on and see how they are looking. So we'll put on the 30 exponential moving average, and you can see here that the market is trading above that moving average. It's come back to it slightly, but it is above it, which is a good sign. Let's also put on the 15-week moving average and just see how that compares. Now, I like to obviously use a slower week being the 30 and a faster week being the 15-week moving average, because that gives us a bit more of an idea as to what the markets are doing. The 15-week is a little bit more clearly responsive than the 30-week moving average. And as you can see here, that blue line is above the red line, which is great. So that means that potentially we could be hopefully in a bit of an uptrend. Who knows? I'm certainly not in the game of trying to preempt where a market is or isn't going. I simply look at these charts and base my decision on that. So that is a really good sign. Let's just pop over to the yearly chart, because it brings it up to a daily candle. And again, the market is trading above both of those moving averages. And if I look on the daily, I've spoken of this before, we've potentially got a line of resistance sort of happening at just under that 13,000 mark, 12,900. You can see here that the market tends to be touching that and then bouncing back down again. But the thing that we want to see is when the market sells off, and if I hold my cursor here, those lows are getting a little bit lower. They're looking at around that 12,600 mark. And the more the lows are higher than the previous lows, the better that is for a market. Obviously, if the lows start getting lower and so do the highs start getting lower, then obviously we could potentially be in a bearish stage. So for this at the moment, I mean, we do want to see our market grow. When I was doing my research over the weekend, there is very little shares in the main indices that are actually outperforming it. So we've only got a very few shares, if you like, that are driving the performance of our market. We do need to get a little bit more participation to really see our market rally. And in fact, I haven't put up any new buying signals for pretty much all of this year. There just hasn't been anything. There's been one or two outliers that have been very, very good performers, but there certainly hasn't been any new trading opportunities from the methodology that I use. Hey, you might have a different view, and I'd love to hear what you have to think of the New Zealand market. Drop me a note in the comment and let me know what you think, because also what you let me know what you're thinking and what you're doing also helps me to create content, which is what I want to do. So I'll stop sharing, and if you like, come back on Thursday. We've had a request to review Somerset Holdings. So we're going to do that and just see how that's performing. It's trading on both the New Zealand market, stock exchange, and also the Australian. But like I just said, if you've got a share or anything that you'd like me to review, by all means, pop it in the comments. Happy to do that for you. And also let me know what you think is happening in the market, because it's good to hear what people are thinking and their views and things as well. And the more we can share and learn off each other. So until Thursday, take care.